Hello, I'm Mark Haney, and I'm here to talk about the NovaWheel NW3 Portable Dryer Series. This series has been a great series of dryers for us. It includes a wheel-type desiccant material. The wheel-type desiccant material has molecular sieve impregnated onto a substrate. This substrate is basically a bunch of small channels, and they end up being like desiccant tubes. So the moist air would come into one end of the desiccant tube, and dry air would leave the other end of the desiccant tube. That's in comparison to beaded type desiccants. But however, beaded type desiccants have the tendency that over time, as you see on the inside of this container, there's a lot of dust. These desiccant beads over time break down, and that inevitably, when the desiccant breaks down, it ends up in your product stream, which you don't want. There's very little dust and very little of that with a wheel type dryer. Much like desiccant beaded dryers and wheel dryers, the circuits in these look very, very similar. There is a recirculated stream, so you have dry air exit the dryer. It goes into the goes through a heater, goes into the drying vessel. It liberates moisture from the resin in the drying hopper. There's a return air from this system that comes back into the dryer. That system goes through a cooling coil, goes through filtration, and then delivers back to the desiccant in a closed loop situation. So what happens is you're always supplying dry air, heated dry air to the drying hopper, and the return air is come back, it's filtered and cleaned, cooled, and then returned to the desiccant material. It's a very simple operation. For regeneration, once this desiccant picks up moisture, you have to liberate the moisture from the desiccant material. So we take in ambient air, we go through a ambient air filter. That filter then goes through a blower. Once again, it goes through a heater. The amount of heat that this uses is a function of the amount of moisture that's on the resin and the temperature of all the conditions. So what will happen is, if there's very little moisture in the system, there's a system called intelligent regeneration. It'll automatically match the amount of energy we're using for reactivation to the amount of moisture that has to be liberated. So typically in the summer months, the regeneration temperatures you'll see will be slightly higher than in the winter months. In the winter months, you'll have temperatures as low as 300 degrees Fahrenheit in order to liberate the moisture from the desiccant material. In the dryer circuit, we have a system that is included in all dryers called overdry protection. Resins have the ability at times to be overdried. If you look at a nylon material, nylon as a resin is chosen because it's both structurally a strong resin, and it also is a very flexible resin. So when you want to maintain those properties, you want to maintain the properties of the resin. If you overdry a nylon material, what you end up with is brittle parts. Typically a nylon may come in at something like 4,000 parts per million, and you want to get down into the 500 to 800 ppm type of range. Rather than, if we overdry that material and we get down to a resin moisture of say 200 parts per million, what you end up having is you lose some of the flexibility properties of that resin. This could be nylons, it could be PBTs, it could be TPUs. On the other hand, sometimes you got things like PET, and you want to dry those down to very low drying levels, and it'll automatically react to those systems automatically. The control system in here is a touchscreen type control. The touchscreen type control goes from the touchscreen to a PLC-based type system. That all governs all the features that are available in this drying system. As I said originally, you have the overdry protection and the intelligent regeneration. You have a 7-day timer in here. In the fully featured dry convey type package, you also have a convey blower and a convey system that would take material from a gaylord to the drying system and then out to the machine, or possibly you could use a loader, load the drying hopper, and you could go to 2 destinations. Either of those is available with the standard type unit. We have a 7-day timer. I know no one wants to come in at 4 o'clock in the morning and start a drying system. So the 7-day timer system allows you to start the unit up automatically, and it would also be able to shut it down automatically. You can adjust it for every day to do this. You can adjust it for Monday through Friday, or you can do any custom variation of those type of things. The control system also trends all of the data points in the system. It trends your drying temperatures. It trends your regeneration temperatures. It trends the dew point control system, and all of that's in a control system that is flexible enough that you can either put more information on the screen. If you want to see everything that's happened over the last week, you can look at the screen and you can compress all the data and you can see the entire week. Also, you can expand what's in there. If there was an event that happened, maybe third shift when you weren't around, something happened and you want to look at that event, you can blow that event up and look at it in detail, that event, on the drying system. The other thing we have in here is we have a tools type feature. In the tools type feature, you can pick English as your language, Spanish as your language. You can pick English units. You can pick metric units. You can go and it has a menu that allows you to set your time and date system. And what that does is every event that occurs and may be tracked in your alarm system, it'll put a time and date stamp on those events. So you'll know anytime an alarm happened and when it happened. So that alarm system is also a continuous alarm system. Every alarm you've ever had in the drying system will show up in the alarm system. So you can go in here and look at any of the things that have occurred to your dryer over a period of time. So if something occurred more than once, you could know those kinds of things. We also have both the ability of putting in the drying temperature you'd like to use, and as a simplistic thing, or if you touch the upper window, you go into the resin menu. And in the resin menu, you can take all of your resins. You can show what the resin you may be using, what the drying temperature would be, the normal drying time would be, and there's a countdown timer. So as you start up a drying system and you may have a purge valve on the bottom of the drying hopper, it will only allow material to be taken out of that unless if you have passed the normal dry time of the system. There's also a dryer status system here. It shows you what your current regeneration temperature coming in is, your regeneration out, drying in, drying out, and dew point. And it also shows the speed of the wheel and the revolutions of the wheel speed. Normally we have a speed of around 10 revolutions an hour. So the things you'd want to see on the dryer operation screen is typically, is your dryer running at 10 revolutions an hour? Is the temperature coming in to the drying system less than 140? Because desiccant has the ability of removing moisture, but once you surpass about 140 degrees Fahrenheit, that temperature, capacity of the desiccant to remove moisture is limited. We automatically measure the temperature at the outlet, regeneration outlet. We want to see that be 212 degrees Fahrenheit, 100 degrees C, or slightly higher. As long as you reach the boiling point of water, 212 degrees Fahrenheit, you're adequately desorbed moisture from the drying system. So if you're supplying heat to this system, and we would start out at something like 380 degrees Fahrenheit, if it notices that you have very little, either less resin going through the drying system than the drying system is rated at, or if the resin has less moisture than it would normally have, it will automatically take and reduce the temperature of the regeneration down to use the minimum BTUs necessary for regeneration. In these drying systems, there's also an alarm light at the top. The alarm light at the top is green most of the time. If you're in an alarm condition, it'll change to red. Now, there are what we'd call a hard alarm, which would be a heater over temperature or something, where you want to shut the dryer down and only make sure that the dryer is protected. Then there are some things like soft alarms. It says under temperature. Maybe your dryer one day, your filters were a little dirty and it heated up slowly that day. It'll give you that as an alarm, but it won't change your drying system or the parameters. It'll just alarm you that those kinds of things, so you might want to know when your maintenance might need to occur. Thank you for taking the time to watch the video on our NovaTech NW3 drying systems. As I said, these systems are either available as a dedicated dryer, hopper cart, or as a full dry convey type system. If you need any more information on this video and other videos will be available on www.novatech.com, or you can contact us through 410-789-4811, or on our website it gives you your local representative and you may want to contact them. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you.